Hi and welcome. My name is Matt Okuma. I'm a systems architect at Cisco, and today I'm going to be following up on this series around Wi-Fi 6 or 802.11ax, and we're going to be covering OFDMA. I think I briefly touched on it as one of the major features in Wi-Fi 6 and how it affects capacity on our wireless networks and a lot of other good things. So today we're going to cover that in this quick, short and sweet video. So let's jump in and take a look at this. So let's talk about Wi-Fi 6 and capacity. And I think first let's understand the difference between the previous generation, 802.11ac or Wi-Fi 5, which was OFDM, and learn how that feature has evolved into something called OFDMA and why it matters in 802.11ax and Wi-Fi 6. So if we start here, let's start with just a basic understanding and the difference between these two generations of features of OFDM and OFDMA. So both of these features divide the overall channel or spectrum into subchannels or carriers. But OFDMA has more of a concept of resource units. So let's break this down a little bit. So if we start here on the left, we see the basic 20 megahertz channel. We see the view, through a spectrum analyzer of that channel. But when we look at OFDM, we see the OFDM divides that 20 megahertz spectrum into a certain amount of carriers, right? But if we see the differences in OFDMA, it divides it into that same 20 megahertz spectrum, it divides it into many more smaller subcarriers, and then it implies a new concept called a resource unit or RUs. In those resource units, it allows each subcarrier in the spectrum to handle multiple users. So if we look at OFDMA again, or sorry, OFDM on the left here, and the concept of just breaking it down a little bit more in simpler terms, say we have three, semi trucks. Each user gets assigned to one of those, being the channel width or the wire, and then we see the wireless LAN packet and the subcarriers. So OFDM divides the available spectrum into those subchannels that we were talking about, and it can independently modulate and demodulate it. But each subcarrier has data for only one user at a time. I think that's the key differentiator there. Because if we look over at OFDMA, we can take those same users as we're depicting here, and we can fill that truck all the way up. We can fill fill them up with resource units, fill those carriers up. So what that equals is all packets, big and small, they get processed much, much faster, lower latency, and more efficient use of the wireless LAN. So let's take this a little step further. Just to break it down visually so you can see. So again, let's just look at OFDMA and the concept of using subcarriers more efficiently and maximizing client count and lowered latency. So OFDMA compared to OFDM. So in OFDM, let me just start this animation here so you can see. We have our users on the bottom, right, all trying to transmit data. So each user gets one time slot in the whole channel bandwidth. And then each user has to wait a certain amount of time before the next transmit opportunity. And as more clients join the cell, the wireless cell, latency and jitter and other things increase, right? And QoS only manages transmit ops, so someone has to wait. So someone's waiting to transmit. Now, if we compare that to OFDMA here, we have those same users all transmitting. What we see is that multiple users packets can make the flight more efficient, right? It also provides much more regular, consistent transmit time. And to break this down in that truck analogy again, it's deterministic in nature. Basically, the older way, if you miss the first truck, no worries. Here comes another, meaning that a truck always leaves full. So our trucks are always full, and the net result is a lot lower latency. So each of these subcarriers that we're showing here is a transport. Latency goes up when subcarriers go out half empty. OFDMA, it really solves this by allowing multiple users packets to go out on one subcarrier. So very key differentiator there that we were showing. And to break it down even more simply, OFDM on the left, OFDMA on the right. So you could see those concepts of resource units and subcarriers being used more efficiently. So very, very easy to understand there. So what does that equal? So OFDMA, 802.11ax, OFDMA, it provides determinism at scale. So it enables high quality, high density voice, video, and data services at a lower cost, essentially. So I wanted to just bring you through these testings that we've done here at Cisco, starting with the one on the left. Drew a box around those so you could really see the difference. The kind of orange dotted line is Cisco best practices for voice delay. And in the bottom axis is client count, and the latency is the other axis, right? So as we scale this out, you can see the blue line is 802.11 AC, Wi-Fi 5, doesn't have OFDMA, has OFDM. And we look at the green line, which is 802.11ax or Wi-Fi 6, the green line. So we see we can get upwards of 80 client count and still be under the Cisco best practices for latency on voice. Very consistent. As you see, we scale that up. That's way, 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 way out of whack, right? As far as with the older generation. So you're going to really suffer on your voice quality there. Consistent data throughput is the next one. Through our testing, as you can see, the overall client count again on the bottom with the throughput in the megabits per second on the other axis. You can see here as we scale out 802.11ax, Wi-Fi 6, we're way, way higher in throughput compared with the 80 client count versus the older generation. So it's going to deliver on quality of service and also SLAs you have for your critical applications. Here's another one around latency. So same thing, client count, latency on the right. So as the client count goes up, dramatic increase in latency that we see. And this comes into play when, it just basically makes services unusable once latency gets that high. So OFDMA, by leveraging it, delay is bounded to 50 milliseconds here, up to 75 clients in AP, resulting in 2 to 3x the voice user capacity with high quality. And finally, the last one, just lower jitter. Lower jitter rate here. We could see these two again, as well as the voice PLR. Very, very similar results. So in conclusion, thank you for taking the time today to watch this short video on the new feature OFDMA and 802.11ax Wi-Fi 6. I hope it helped clarify in a very simple, quick manner the differences between the older generation and new generation of the feature. So thank you, subscribe to our channel, and look for more BAS Bites in the future. Thank you.